Welcome back, all my Erudite friends out there. My name is Jeff Kowalk, and this is Erudite Magic. If you're joining us for the first time, so glad to have you here. We talk about all things magic book related. Thank you so much for subscribing, for liking. Guys, it means a lot that you're sharing this with your friends, that you're learning from this, and that together we're exploring the magic of a book. I absolutely love it. If you have been with us and you saw last week's video, I apologize for Handsome Jeff. He only shows up occasionally. Thanks for showing him a lot of love. Here's the deal. In this week's video, I'm going to talk about something different. It's not a book review. It is a discussion. We've done this from time to time and we'll continue to do it from time to time. You ready? Let's get into it. The big question today is, why have a magic library? Or put differently, why have a large magic library? There's a very strong tradition in magic of people learning from the written word. In today's world, some of this has been usurped a little bit by the video industry, and I have nothing against videos. You can see my thoughts about that in a different video where I discuss books versus other types of learning. That's not my point here in this video. In this video, I want to discuss the merits of having a large library and why you should be adding to yours. So first of all, I think that a large library shows a commitment to intellectual curiosity, which I think we all can agree is a good thing. There's something to be said for digging through all of the material in a book only to find the nuggets that stick out to you as an artist and as a performer. So unless you're just a prodigy and you've always invented your own stuff, you probably learned something from a book. And even if you say that you learned all your magic from other magicians, there's a pretty good chance that they learned something from a book. Basically, when you have a large library, you're showing your commitment that you can't stop and won't stop learning. So what does having a large library do for you? One of the good reasons to have a large library is that normally with regular books, and I have quite a number of regular books as well, you can get those from your local libraries, so you don't necessarily have to buy them in order to obtain the knowledge in them. However, with magic, because it's so secretive and protected, oftentimes you're forced into buying a book if you want to learn the secrets that are contained therein. Well, one of the things is that it exposes you to new ideas and can help you with your own creativity. It's often said that combining ideas is one of the fundamental exercises in creative thinking. In other words, combining 1 + 1, two of the same things, yields a new result. 2. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in both industry and in science have come because of cross-disciplinary thinking. I'm a big proponent of exposing yourself to a vast array of different ideas. For example, I'm a mentalist when I perform. However, I started off as a close-up card guy. There have been a lot of things that I've been able to apply to my thinking and my act because I have that background in close-up card magic. The same is true for you. If you only study your particular branch of magic, you're likely to miss out on a lot of other great ideas that other magicians have put out there. And sometimes that little idea from a different branch of our art is going to be the thing that gives you a breakthrough in either creating your own effect or creating your own act. So a good library is going to have a good cross-section of different material. You're going to have everything from the technical to theory to books of effects. And to be honest, the more specific the resource or book, the easier your path is going to be when you go to do research projects. Which brings up an interesting topic. Let's talk for a minute about research tools. One research tool that you have at your disposal are notebooks, and we've talked about this in previous videos. You need to be taking notes as you read through things to lock in the things that stimulate your brain. When you go through old notebooks from time to time, not only will you find great ideas, but sometimes you'll almost literally find gold, or at least the modern equivalent, when you find money you put away for a certain effect. When I write down ideas, I almost always put a header up there with a date so that I will know, 1, what the main topic of that page is without having to go through everything there, and 2, I'll have a chronological order of my thinking so that if I'm looking for something, sometimes I can pinpoint a date, and other times it just helps me know where in the process of thinking through something I was. Sometimes you'll want to go back and you'll want to add a date down at the bottom of one thought so that you'll know where to go in the future to look for your updated thinking on that thought. Sometimes the new thinking comes from a new book that you've read or a new idea you've come across on a forum or from a friend, and you're going to want to incorporate that into whatever your old thinking was. There are very few people's brains who can absorb and retain everything in their library. So writing it down is going to help you. A notebook is absolutely essential if you want to make progress with your library. What about the unknowns? Of course, the things that you've read, you can hopefully retain what you need, but there are going to be things in your library that you may not have read, or you read and your brain glossed over it because you weren't interested at the time. Well, do I have a tool for you? Dennis Baer's Conjuring Archive is one of the most beautiful modern tools I've ever seen for interacting with your library. There you can look at the contents of books, examine them by effect, by sometimes method, or by props. You can examine other things by the same author, and you can see the iteration of an idea throughout time. And here's my favorite use, a research project. Let's say that you wanted to learn more about the impostress princess effect. Well, you can go to Dennis Baer's Conjuring Archive, pull up that topic, and you can see what books the topic exists in. You can see the page numbers that you can find them. So it makes research much faster and much easier. This is an indispensable tool. Thanks, Dennis, for everything you've done to make people's libraries accessible and usable to them. So now we come to the question that many of you have. What about all the unread books? I know, buyer's guilt. Don't feel that way. There's no reason that you should feel guilty about the books that you haven't read. I know that I've probably only read maybe 60 to 70% of the material that I have in my library. Does that make me a bad magician? I don't think so. I think what it makes me is, as I referenced at the beginning, it makes me intellectually curious. It makes me a lifetime student. In fact, there's a term for the unread books that are stacking up in your library. The term was coined by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and it's called an anti-library. An anti-library is nothing more than the stack of books sitting around that you've purchased, but you've not yet read. Sound familiar? Some, including Mr. Taleb, have postulated that the anti-library is actually more valuable than the books that you've read. It's a reminder of everything you don't know, that there's more out there to learn. I don't know about you, but if you had determined that you had learned everything there was to know in a specific field, like magic, that would be an incredibly depressing feeling, that there was nothing more to learn, nothing new to know, no more ideas out there. In fact, the larger your anti-library, the more potential learning you have at your disposal. And yes, I am a glass half full kind of guy, as I hope you are. I think Aristotle put it best when he said, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. There's a really cool website I came across when I was doing research for this episode that shows a graph of confidence on the y-axis and wisdom on the x-axis. It's fascinating to see that initially when you start to learn something, oftentimes your confidence goes up higher than it should. In other words, when you're starting out, you get to the peak of Mount Stupid. You know very little, but you assume you know a lot. You crest that peak and enter what's known as the Valley of Despair. That as you start to learn more and your confidence comes down, you realize there's so much out there that you don't know. But if you can press through that, you hit the slope of enlightenment that you'll continue to learn and grow and develop. Your confidence will build until you hit the plateau of sustainability. So what's the lesson in all this? The lesson is don't give up. Keep digging, keep learning, keep growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. What am I suggesting? I think that books are for everyone, or at least for 99% of the people out there. Books have a part to play in your development as a magician. I don't think they have to be the exclusive form of development in your learning. However, I do think they need to play a significant part. There's something about interpreting that written word that once you've found something, you've now fed an internal hungry beast that wants to learn more, that wants to go out and take what you've just mined for yourself because you put in the money to buy the books, the effort to go through the books, and the creativity to develop this routine and polish it into something that can be presented to an audience for entertainment. Once you've done that, you must continue to do it. That's what I love. Not only the thrill of the chase, but the ability to put something together that maybe has never existed before except in your own head. And you're presenting this, your precious gift of time and effort and energy, to an appreciative audience. There is no better feeling. As Solomon wrote in the Bible, the desire accomplished is sweet to the soul. Those words were never more true when it comes to your library. But the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. If you're feeling a little discouraged or like you're not really ready to take this first step, you don't know what to do, the course of action is action. Just read one word. Seriously, open a book and read one word. You really can't stop there. Once you've committed to reading one word, you're going to read a sentence. You're going to read a paragraph. You might read a chapter. And if you can do so with a pen and paper handy, you're going to come out ahead. Really doesn't matter how much you read. I think you'll find it addictive, but you have to start. If there's any way I can encourage you or in any way that I can help you, I hope you'll reach out to me. I love books. I love people learning from books. And I hope that this video is an inspiration for you to get started on your library, or if you already have a library, to revisit some titles that you haven't looked at for a while. I have certain books that I love to reread over and over again because every time I go back to them, I get something new. One of my favorite lines ever written about books comes from J.B. Ian Swiss in his review for The Magic of Nick Trost. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he essentially says that a book tells you I am a book, nothing more, nothing less. Now come put your feet up, sit by the fire, spend some time together. And like time spent with any good friend, it will be time well spent. Start building that library. You know, another title for this video would be, why did I create this channel? Because I want you to have a magic library. I want you to learn and grow and become the best version of you possible. The statement has been made is that hell is meeting the person that you could have become. That at your final day on earth, you'll meet someone who will be everything you could have been. Now, what are you going to do today to become that person so that when you meet that person, you are the absolutely best version of you possible? Books are part of that path. As always, my friends, if there are things that I didn't answer or you have more questions about why you should have a library, don't hesitate to drop a comment down below. You know I'll answer it because, as always, I am an open book. Until next time, all my erudite friends, keep reading.